My daughter looked me straight in the eye and told me I was too old to live alone anymore, but in 72 hours, she'd discovered that being old doesn't mean being stupid, and trying to steal my house would cost her everything she thought she'd already won. Before we continue, please subscribe to hear more stories of justice served cold. The morning Sarah presented me with the papers, I was sitting at my kitchen table, enjoying my usual 6:47 a.m. coffee ritual. French roast, 2 sugars, splash of cream. The same way I'd drunk it for 43 years, ever since Margaret taught me that good coffee was worth the extra minute of preparation. "Dad, we need to talk about your future," Sarah said, sliding a manila folder across the worn oak table. The same table where she'd done her homework, where we'd celebrated her college acceptance, where I'd signed the check for her wedding. At 72, I'd built Hayes Construction from a single pickup truck to a company worth $3.2 million. I'd raised 3 children, buried my wife Margaret 2 years ago, and maintained the same 4-bedroom colonial on Maple Street for 35 years. My mind was sharp as the day I'd calculated my first construction bid. "What's this about, sweetheart?" I asked, though something in her tone made my coffee taste bitter. Sarah tucked a strand of her professionally highlighted hair behind her ear, a nervous gesture I'd seen since she was 5. "It's just, since Mom died, we've been worried about you, me and Brandon especially." Brandon, her husband, the investment banker who'd never met a mirror he didn't like or a dollar he didn't want to spend. Last Christmas, he'd spent the entire dinner explaining why my old-fashioned business model was obsolete. "I'm doing fine," I said, opening the folder. My reading glasses were on the counter, but I could make out enough. Power of attorney, deed transfer, healthcare proxy. "Dad, you forgot to pay the water bill last month," Sarah said, her voice taking on that patronizing tone I'd been hearing more often lately. "And Mrs. Henderson said she saw you confused at the grocery store." I hadn't forgotten the water bill. I'd been in Chicago that week, finalizing a commercial project that would net my company $400,000. As for Mrs. Henderson, I'd been comparing olive oil prices when she'd walked by. Apparently, fiscal responsibility looked like confusion to some people. "These papers would transfer the house deed to me and Brandon," Sarah continued, her words tumbling out faster now. "For safekeeping. We've already found you a lovely assisted living community, Sunset Gardens. They have activities, medical staff, everything you need." I set down my coffee cup carefully, the ceramic clicking against the saucer. "In construction, you learn to read blueprints, but you also learn to read people. And right now, my daughter's blueprint was showing foundations built on greed." "Where are your brothers in all this?" I asked. "Michael's deployed overseas, and David, well, you know David. He's always busy with his practice." She leaned forward, placing her manicured hand over mine. "I'm the one who's here, Dad. I'm the one who cares." The hand that covered mine wore a $15,000 diamond ring I'd bought for her wedding. The wrist bore a Cartier watch, last year's Christmas gift. The one who cares. "I'll need to think about it," I said, closing the folder. Sarah's face tightened. "Dad, we've already put down a deposit at Sunset Gardens. Brandon spoke with his lawyer. Mr. Ashford says at your age, these arrangements are standard. We could have you moved in by the end of the month." I said, "I'll think about it." The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. Finally, Sarah stood, smoothing her designer dress. "We're doing this because we love you, Dad, because we want what's best for you. Brandon's already arranged for an assessment next week, just to document your current state. for the courts if necessary. After she left, I sat in my kitchen until the coffee went cold. Margaret would have known what to do. She'd always been the one to handle Sarah's manipulations with grace, but Margaret was gone, and I was alone with the bitter knowledge that my daughter saw me not as her father, but as an obstacle to her inheritance. I poured the cold coffee down the sink and made a fresh cup. Then I did what I'd always done when faced with a problem. I got to work. The first call was to Robert Bradley, my lawyer for the past 20 years. "Rob, I need you to pull every document related to my estate, and I need the contact information for the best elder law attorney you know." "Everything all right, Jim?" "It will be," I said. "Also, I need you to run a title search on my house. Look for any recent activity." The pause on the other end told me everything. "Jim, there was a notation filed last week, preliminary paperwork for a competency hearing." My hand tightened on the phone. "Filed by whom?" "Sarah and Brandon Mitchell." After hanging up, I made a spreadsheet. Old habits from decades of project management. Column A, assets. Column B, threats. Column C, countermeasures. My second cup of coffee accompanied me to my home office, where I began my research. Sunset Gardens Assisted Living. Basic rooms started at $6,000 per month. But the financial disclosure forms on their website told a different story. They required residents to sign over power of attorney to a designated family member who would manage their assets. I pulled up Brandon's LinkedIn profile. Investment banker at Morrison and Associates, specializing in real estate portfolios. His recent posts were all about maximizing generational wealth and strategic asset management. One photo showed him and Sarah at a country club fundraiser. The caption, "Planning for our future." My future, apparently, was meant to fund theirs. David answered on the third ring. My youngest son, the physician. "Dad, everything okay? It's pretty early." "Sarah came by this morning," I said, "with some papers." The silence stretched across the miles between us. David worked at Johns Hopkins, 12 hours away, but we'd always been close. "Dad, I need to tell you something. Sarah called me last week. She wanted me to sign something saying I'd observed cognitive decline in you. I refused. And she said Brandon's lawyer could work around it. Dad, I think you need to be careful. I overheard Brandon at Christmas talking about your house. He mentioned something about the land value being worth more than the construction business." My house sat on 3 acres of prime real estate. When Margaret and I bought it in 1978, it cost $65,000. Last assessment, $1.4 million. "Thanks for the heads up, son. How's Emma doing?" I asked, changing the subject to his daughter. "She's great. Actually, she's been asking about visiting you over spring break. She wants to learn more about the business, thinking about majoring in engineering." "She's always welcome here," I said. "Always." After David, I called Michael's wife, Lisa. Michael was stationed in Germany, but Lisa answered immediately. "Jim, how are you?" "I've been better. Listen, has Sarah contacted you recently?" Lisa's hesitation spoke volumes. "She called last week, wanted to know about Michael's power of attorney, the military one. She seemed upset when I told her it only applied if he was incapacitated in combat." "Did she say why she wanted to know?" "Something about family planning." "Jim, is everything all right?" "It will be," I said. "Give my love to the grandkids." By 9:30 a.m., I'd mapped out the full scope of my daughter's betrayal. The competency hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks out. The paperwork showed Brandon as the petitioner, with Sarah as the primary witness. They'd listed incidents: the missed water bill, Mrs. Henderson's grocery store observation, and, this one stung, increase in isolation and paranoid behavior following spouse's death. Paranoid, because I'd refused to co-sign their loan for a vacation home 6 months ago. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through Sarah's social media. Her Instagram was full of aspirational lifestyle posts: the beach vacation they couldn't afford, the new Tesla in their driveway, Brandon's Rolex collection, and there, from 3 weeks ago, a photo of my house with the caption, "Can't wait to renovate this classic beauty. You future projects, you family legacy." She'd already decided my home was hers. Robert Bradley met me at his office that afternoon. He'd practiced law since before Sarah was born, and his expression as he reviewed the competency filing was grim. "They're moving fast," he said, "but sloppily. The grocery store incident isn't documented. The water bill was paid within the grace period. But, Jim, they've got Dr. Marcus Ashford on their side." "Who's he?" "He specializes in elder law, or, as some call it, elder abuse through the legal system. He's very good at what he does." "So, what do I do?" Robert leaned back in his leather chair. "We fight. But first, we document everything: your mental state, your business activities, your daily routine. We need witnesses who can testify to your competency. And Jim, ... He paused. "You might want to consider what happens if they lose." "What do you mean?" "I mean, your daughter's trying to steal your house and have you declared incompetent. That's not just greed, that's betrayal. What kind of relationship can you have after this?" I thought about Sarah as a little girl, riding on my shoulders at the county fair, teaching her to drive in the high school parking lot, walking her down the aisle at her wedding. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I know I won't go down without a fight." That evening, I invited Mrs. Henderson over for dinner. My neighbor of 20 years seemed surprised but pleased. Over pot roast, Margaret's recipe, I casually mentioned Sarah's concerns. "Oh, Jim," Mrs. Henderson laughed. "I told Sarah you were comparing olive oil prices, $23 for the imported stuff, highway robbery. I said you looked focused, not confused. She must have misunderstood." "Would you be willing to put that in writing?" I asked. Mrs. Henderson's expression shifted. "Jim, is something wrong?" I told her everything. By the end, she was furious. "That girl, after everything you've done for her, you paid for her education, her wedding, helped with their down payment, and this is how she repays you." "I need character witnesses," I said, "people who can testify that I'm of sound mind." "Count me in," she said firmly, "and I'll talk to the others on the street. We've all seen how sharp you are. Just last month you helped Tom Morrison with his debt calculations when his contractor tried to overcharge him." Over the next few days, I built my defense. Dr. Patricia Kumar, my physician, conducted a comprehensive cognitive assessment. Score: well above average for any age group. My accountant, David Chen, prepared a report showing my consistent management of complex financial portfolios. 3 current clients provided statements about my ongoing construction projects and mental acuity. But I wasn't just playing defense. The second meeting with my lawyer included someone new: Samuel Richards, the elder law attorney Robert had recommended. Where Robert was thoughtful and measured, Samuel was a fighter. "They've made several mistakes," Samuel said, reviewing the filing. "First, the timeline. They filed for competency before attempting less restrictive alternatives. Second, the financial motive is clear. They've already inquired about your property value with 3 real estate firms. How do you know that? Samuel smiled. Because good lawyers do their homework. Brandon Mitchell has also been in contact with a developer named Harrison Developments. They specialize in tearing down older homes and building luxury condos. My home, where Margaret and I had raised our children, where her rose garden still bloomed every spring. They were already planning to destroy it. I want to set a trap, I said. Both lawyers looked at me. What kind of trap? Robert asked. The kind that shows their true intentions. Can we arrange a meeting where they think I'm ready to sign over the house? Samuel's grin was sharp. I like how you think. Yes, we can do that. But we'll need witnesses, preferably hidden ones. The meeting was set for Thursday, 2 p.m. My dining room, scene of so many family gatherings, was about to host one more. I'd had small cameras installed, completely legal in my own home. Samuel would be in the basement, monitoring everything. Robert would arrive later, as planned. Sarah and Brandon arrived 15 minutes early. She wore a new suit, Armani, if I wasn't mistaken. Brandon carried a leather briefcase that probably cost more than most people's mortgage payments. Dad! Sarah hugged me, her perfume expensive and cloying. You look well. Thank you for agreeing to this, Jim, Brandon said, already pulling out papers. We know this is difficult, but it's for the best. I'd placed Margaret's photo prominently on the sideboard. Sarah's eyes flickered to it, then away. Guilt? Or just annoyance at the reminder of someone who would have seen through her immediately? I've been thinking, I said slowly, playing the part of a confused old man. Maybe you're right. The house is too big. Too many memories. Sarah's face lit up. Oh, Dad, I'm so glad you understand. We just want what's best for you. The assisted living facility looks nice, I continued, though the monthly fees seem high. Brandon waved dismissively. Don't worry about that. Once we sell the house, there'll be plenty of money for your care. In fact, I've already had some preliminary discussions with developers. We could get $2.3 million easy, maybe more if we subdivide the land. There it was. We. What about the business? I asked. Oh, we'll manage that too, Brandon said, spreading out more papers. I've got buyers interested. Commercial construction is hot right now. Could probably get $3.5 million for the company assets and contracts. Sarah touched my hand again. You won't have to worry about anything, Dad. We'll handle it all. And my personal accounts? We'll manage those too, Brandon said smoothly. Simplified finances are better at your age. One account, managed by us, with a reasonable monthly allowance for your needs at Sunset Gardens. An allowance from my own money. What does Michael think about this? I asked. Sarah's smile flickered. Michael's busy with the military. He understands I'm the one here taking care of things. And David? David's always been too soft, Brandon interjected. He doesn't understand business like we do. I see. I picked up the pen, letting my hand shake slightly. Before I sign, I should probably tell you about the will. Both of them froze. The will? Sarah asked. I updated it last year, after Margaret died. Had to make some changes. I tapped the pen against the papers. Everything's in a trust now, managed by the bank. Can't be changed if I'm declared incompetent. Brandon's face reddened. That's not what Marcus said. He said if we got power of attorney. Oh, did I mention? I continued conversationally. I had coffee with Judge Patricia Stern yesterday. She's presiding over the competency hearing. Lovely woman. Her father had dementia, so she's very careful about these cases. Very thorough. Sarah stood abruptly. Dad, what did you do? I stood too, and suddenly I wasn't the confused old man anymore. I protected myself from a daughter who sees me as a bank account and a son-in-law who's already spending my money. You can't do this. Brandon's mask slipped completely. We've already put deposits down. The country club membership, the boat, Sarah's surgery. Surgery? I looked at my daughter. Sarah flushed. Cosmetic, but that's not the point. Dad, we're your family. You deserve what you've earned, I said, and what you've earned is nothing. The doorbell rang. Robert Bradley entered, followed by another man in a suit. Jim, Robert said formally, this is Detective Morrison from the Elder Abuse Division. Brandon went pale. Elder abuse? We didn't. Attempting to force someone into assisted living to steal their assets qualifies, Detective Morrison said, especially when there's documented evidence of mental competency. Dad, please, Sarah's voice cracked. We're family. No, I said quietly. Family doesn't do this. Family doesn't plan to tear down my home for condos. Family doesn't call me paranoid for grieving my wife. Family doesn't try to lock me away so they can spend my money. Detective Morrison stepped forward. Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, I need you to come with me for questioning. You're not under arrest at this time, but I would advise getting a lawyer. This is ridiculous, Brandon shouted. Jim, you'll regret this. We'll fight the will. We'll prove you're incompetent. Actually, Samuel Richards said, emerging from the basement with a laptop, you won't. We have everything on video, including your admission that you've already spent money you thought you'd steal, including your plans to sell to developers, including the fact that you tried to bribe Dr. Marcus Ashford to testify about Jim's mental state. Sarah stared at me, tears streaming down her face. But were they tears of remorse or just frustration at being caught? Dad, I'm your daughter, your only daughter. Doesn't that mean anything? I thought about it, really thought about it. It meant everything, until you decided I was worth more dead than alive. The competency hearing never happened. Brandon and Sarah were charged with attempted elder abuse and fraud. They pled down to lesser charges but had to pay significant fines and restitution. More importantly, their reputations were destroyed. Brandon lost his job at the investment firm. Sarah's social media went dark. I changed my will the next week. Michael and David would split the business. Emma, my granddaughter, would get the house, with the stipulation that it remains in the family and never be sold to developers. Various charities would receive substantial donations. Sarah was left exactly $1, enough to prevent her from contesting the will, not enough to matter. Mrs. Henderson and I still have coffee every Tuesday. She tells me the neighborhood gossip, and I tell her about my construction projects. Yes, projects plural. At 72, I'm still building, still working, still living in my home. Emma visited last month. She spent hours in my office, learning about load-bearing walls and foundation requirements. She has Margaret's eyes and her great-grandmother's work ethic. The business will be in good hands. Sometimes, late at night, I think about Sarah, the little girl who used to fall asleep on my shoulder during long car rides, the teenager who cried on my shoulder after her first heartbreak, the young woman who danced with me at her wedding. I wonder if that person ever really existed, or if I just saw what I wanted to see. But then I make my morning coffee, French roast, 2 sugars, splash of cream, and I remember Margaret's words. People show you who they are, Jim. Believe them. Sarah showed me who she was. I believed her, and I protected myself accordingly. The house is quiet now, but it's a peaceful quiet, not the silence of abandonment, but the quiet of a life well lived. My office walls hold photos of Michael in uniform, David in his white coat, Emma at her high school graduation. The empty space where Sarah's photo used to hang is now filled with a picture of Margaret in her garden, surrounded by roses. Some might say I lost a daughter, but I'd say I discovered the truth. And sometimes the truth is worth more than family ties built on greed. My name is Jim Hayes. I'm 72 years old, of sound mind and body, and I still live in my own home, where I'll stay until the day I die, surrounded by memories of the family who loved me for who I am, not what I'm worth. And that's worth more than all the money in any bank account. If you enjoyed this story of justice served, please like and subscribe. Remember, age is just a number, but wisdom is priceless. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.